Joshua 19:49 to 51 concludes the division of the land among the tribes of Israel. The passage highlights Joshua receiving his own inheritance after the people had received theirs, and records the formal completion of the land allotments before the Lord at the entrance of the tabernacle in Shiloh. Joshua 19:49 to 51. Commentary. After the inheritance had been distributed among the tribes of Israel, the people gave Joshua his own inheritance. Unlike many rulers who seek their own interests first, Joshua waited until the needs of the nation had been met before receiving his portion. This reflects the character of a faithful servant who places the good of God's people ahead of personal gain. Joshua received Timnath-Serah in the hill country of Ephraim, rebuilt the city, and settled there. The timing of Joshua's inheritance is significant. God had promised him a portion in the land many years earlier, yet Joshua patiently waited for its fulfillment. His confidence rested not in human effort, but in the certainty of God's promise. The Lord's faithfulness is seen in every detail, demonstrating that what he promises, he also brings to completion. The distribution of the inheritance was conducted before the Lord at the entrance of the tabernacle in Shiloh. This reminds us that the land was never merely a political possession, but a covenant gift from God. Every boundary, city, and inheritance was assigned under his authority. Israel did not create its own inheritance. It received what God had already determined to give. These final verses also mark the completion of an important chapter in Israel's history. The conquest that began under Joshua had reached its appointed goal as the land was divided according to God's promise. What had been spoken to Abraham centuries earlier had now been fulfilled in the generation that entered Canaan. The Lord proved himself faithful to every covenant promise concerning the possession of the land. Joshua himself serves as a picture of the greater Joshua, Jesus Christ. Just as Joshua led God's people into their promised inheritance, Jesus has secured an eternal inheritance for his people through his finished work. Believers do not strive to earn what God has already provided. Their inheritance is a gift of grace, secured by Christ and received through faith. Because his work is complete, those who belong to him rest in an inheritance that cannot be taken away. The gathering at Shiloh also points beyond the earthly land. The Old Covenant inheritance centered on a geographical territory, but through Christ, the promises find their fulfillment in a greater and everlasting reality. God's people are no longer identified by tribal boundaries or an earthly nation, but by their union with Christ. The inheritance is no longer confined to a piece of land in Canaan, but consists of every spiritual blessing found in him. Joshua 19 closes the account of dividing the land with a declaration of completion. The God who began his work with Israel faithfully brought it to its intended conclusion. In the same way, God's redemptive plan has reached its fulfillment through the completed work of Christ. Believers therefore live, not waiting for another sacrifice or another covenant to be established, but rejoicing in the finished work of the Savior and the unchanging inheritance that is theirs forever.